So good morning. We'll continue our discussion from yesterday's class. I hope you can see my screen. Can somebody confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So we had started discussing about in the last two classes we have started discussing about convection diffusion problems and how to discretize those type of problems. Okay, and we started this discussion by considering a simple problem, 1D problem like this: d dx of rho u phi is equal to d dx of gamma d phi dx. We ignored the source term and the unsteady term because we know how to treat them very easily. Okay. So the main issue was how to discretize this convective term, advective term. So we had seen couple of schemes, central difference scheme and what are its drawbacks, and then we have seen the upwind scheme, how it can overcome the drawbacks of the central difference scheme. And there are certain drawbacks of the upwind scheme also, like it does not work at low convection cases. So those also we have discussed. So then what we wanted to do is we wanted to actually find out what is the actual variation of a parameter phi within two control volumes. Okay, when subjected to this type of governing equation, means this type of flow plus diffusion. So what is the actual variation, whether it is exponential, logarithmic, linear, polynomial, or means any other type of variation, step function. So we wanted to see whether we can analytically derive a solution for this equation, which will give us the actual variation of this variable between two grid points. So for that we had taken a domain going from x equal to 0 to x equal to L, and the boundary conditions were set as phi is equal to 0 at one side and phi equal to phi L at other side. So phi equal to phi 0 at one side and phi equal to phi L at other side. And after solving in non-dimensional form, we obtained the following solution: phi minus phi 0 by phi L minus phi 0 is equal to e to the power px by L minus 1 by e to the power p minus 1, okay, where p is the Peclet number. Peclet number, as you know already, just to remind you, is the ratio of advective strength F by diffusive strength D, where advective strength is rho u and diffusive strength is gamma by L or gamma by delta x. Okay, so rho u L by gamma. This is the definition of Peclet number. Okay, so this variation we found that it is similar to an exponential variation. Okay, it is similar to an exponential variation. It is an exponential variation. It's not correct to say similar to an exponential. It is an exponential variation, and it gives us a lot of insight because we know that for simple convection diffusion problems, the variation of the dependent variable phi should be exponential in nature, and accordingly we can interpolate at the interface what should be the variable of phi at the interface based on this type of variation. Okay, for 1D problem. For 2D and 3D problem also we can use the same scheme, but in those cases this is not the exact solution, but the nature will be similar. Nature of variation will be similar. Now we have started looking at some limiting cases to find out exactly how the behavior looks like. Okay. So we are trying to plot this graph of phi between phi 0 and phi L for different values of Peclet number. Okay. How phi varies with x for different values of Peclet number. So for that we have started with some limiting cases. What was the first limiting case? Yesterday we had started. P tends to 0. So Peclet, very low Peclet number. At the limit of very low Peclet number means there is almost no flow. It's only diffusion dominated. We had obtained the solution as phi star is equal to x star. Okay, so the variation of phi star, non-linear variable, non-dimensional variable phi star is linear in nature. Okay, if you plot this, it will look something like this. So phi will go from phi equal to phi 0 to phi equal to phi L in a linear manner. Okay, so this is the graph of phi star is equal to x star, and this green line means the green line is the graph, and it is for value p tends to 0 or p equal to 0. Okay, so there is a linear variation. So now we will look at some other limiting cases or some other cases of Peclet numbers to find out the variations for other values like positive. What will happen if the Peclet number is positive? What will happen if the Peclet number is negative? Things like that. Okay, so that we have a good idea about all the variation of phi with with x for different Peclet numbers. So any questions up to this point? Up to this we had discussed in the previous class. I hope everything is clear. The notes are also uploaded in the portal, so you can go through them to try to understand this. And this is also there in the these are there in the book by Patankar. Okay, so you can also go through those, go through that book. It is there in a similar form. Means it's a very concise and to the point book. So not much description is there, but all the important material is still there. So now, so I will keep this solution, okay, general solution open here, and we will try to look at another limiting case. Not limiting case, but another case where p is greater than 0. Okay. We have looked at p equal to 0. Now we will look at p greater than 0. So at p greater than 0, so this is the expression of phi star, right? Phi star is equal to e to the power px star minus 1 by e to the power p minus 1. Okay. If I take a derivative with respect to x star, you will get, so you can take this out, the denominator out, because it's not a function of x. So 1 by e to the power p minus 1. So the derivative of the numerator is p into e to the power px star. Okay. So because we are taking p to be greater than 0, p is positive, and e to the power p is greater than 1. Okay, p is greater than 0, e to the power p is greater than 1. So this term is positive, e to the power p minus 1 is positive. P is positive and e to the power px star is also positive. So the entire term is greater than 0. Okay. So it means that the slope of this line is positive, always positive, because for whatever is the value of x between 0 and 1, x star is going to change between 0 and 1, right? Non-dimensional value of x star is going to change between 0 and 1, that we have seen previously, I think, because x star is defined as x by L. So whatever is the value of x star, this is always going to be positive. So the slope of this line, phi star, d phi star dx star, is always going to be positive. Okay. Now if you take a second derivative with respect to x star, we get that. So this term is still there, 1 by e to the power p minus 1. And the second term becomes p square e to the power px star. Okay. Again, e to the power p minus 1 is positive. P square is positive and e to the power px star is also positive. So the entire term here also is positive. It means that the change in slope is also positive for any value of x star between 0 and 1. So both the slope of phi star and the rate of, what is it? It's not coming properly. Both the slope of phi star and the rate of change of slope of phi star are positive. Okay, it means that, what does it mean? So slope positive and rate of change of slope positive means that slope is gradually increasing. That is why the rate of change of slope is positive. So initially we have a positive slope, and then the slope is gradually becoming more and more positive, gradually increasing. So rate of change of slope is also positive. Okay. So here the slope is gradually increasing from x star equal to 0 to x star equal to 1. So how will this look like? This will look something like this. So slope is positive initially. So all this green line also had initially positive slope. Okay. This one. So something like this. Slope is positive and it is increasing. Okay. So the slope of this line is positive. So this is for p greater than 0. Okay. Slope is positive and the slope is gradually increasing. So if x like because rate of change of slope is also positive. Okay. So this is what is the value for p greater than 0. Okay. Let us take a look at another case, p less than 0. For p less than 0, again take a derivative of this d phi star dx star again is equal to 1 by e to the power p minus 1 into p e to the power p x star, same derivative, same thing. Okay. Now if p is less than 0, e to the power p is less than 1, because e to the power 0 is 1, e to the power something negative is less than 1. So this e to the power p is less than 1, so e to the power p minus 1 is negative. Okay, so if the first term is negative, first part is negative, then p is also negative again. Okay, and e to the power p extra is positive. Okay, exponential has to be positive. So there are two negatives, so the entire thing becomes positive. So the slope is positive. Slope of phi star is positive. Okay. What about the double derivative? Rate of change of slope. So d square phi star dx star square is equal to 1 by e to the power p minus 1. Same thing into p square e to the power px star. Okay. Here e to the power p minus 1 is negative, as e to the power p is less than 1. So the first part is negative. P square has to be positive, and e to the power p star also is positive. So there is a single negative term, so the entire thing becomes negative. Okay, so the rate of change of slope is negative, which means that initially the slope is positive. The slope always remains positive, but the slope decreases gradually. Okay. So the rate of change of slope is negative. Slope of phi star is positive, but the rate of change of slope is negative. Hence the slope is initially higher and gradually decreases from x star equal to 0 to x star equal to L. So let us take a look at how it should look like. So in this case, it should look like something like this. So slope is initially positive. And then so should meet here. Okay. Slope is initially positive. It remains positive, but the slope decreases. Okay. So rate of change of slope is negative. Okay. This is for p less than 0. P less than 0. So these are some of the variations of so I have already shown here. Okay, these are some of the variations what I was drawing here. These are some of the variations with different Peclet numbers. Okay, so all negative Peclet numbers will be above the green line. All positive Peclet numbers will be below the green line. The green line is Peclet number equal to 0. And if it becomes more and more negative, this line will become more and more like this. Okay. Sorry, it's not very clear, but I think you can get the idea. So it will become more and more like this. So this is p much greater than 0, and this is p much less than 0. Okay. So what it means is that if Peclet number is very positive, okay, very large value, almost the entire grid means almost the entire so along the entire length of from x equal to 0 to x equal to L, the value is equal to phi 0 or very near to phi 0. Okay. If the Peclet number is very much negative, okay, almost the entire length and particularly at the midpoint, the value is very near to phi L. And this is what we have already discussed. So if there is a strong positive flow in this direction, which means Peclet number is very large, okay. So then if the interface value, say at the midpoint, if there is an interface at the midpoint, should be very strongly influenced by the left hand side value. So it should be very near to phi 0. Okay. If there is a very strong negative flow in this direction, okay, then if there is an interface at the center, it should be very strongly influenced by the right hand side value. So this value should be very near to this phi value, should be very near to phi L value, and that is what we are also discovering from the exact solution. Okay. but the nature of variation also is now clear to us that it is exponential. So this is what we have plotted here. So x star going from 0 to 1 and phi star going from 0 to 1, and for p equal to 0, this is shown by this blue or cyan colored line. For p greater than 0, this is the pink colored line, and p double means very much higher than 0 also. It goes more and more towards the right hand side, and as you can see, if there is a point midpoint between x equal to 0 and x equal to 1, if we imagine that there is an interface here, it will be dominated by the value phi star equal to 0. Similarly, if Peclet number is very much negative and if there is an interface midpoint here, the value will be dominated by the phi star equal to 1 value. Okay. Any questions? Let us summarize what we have discussed, okay, for this analytical solution. And what is the significance of this? Okay, so the significance of this analytical solution is that we can assume a similar profile variation of phi between the grid points for developing our discretized equation. Till now we have taken two types of variations. Okay, what are the variations we have taken? One is this green line, which shows that there is a linear variation which is for the central difference scheme. The other type of variation we have taken is shown by this black line or the red line, which was for the upwind scheme. If p is positive, we have taken this to be the black line, and p is negative, we have taken this to be the red line. So either the value of phi is equal to phi p or value of phi is equal to phi e. Okay, so these are the two variations that we had taken previously. But now after looking at the graph, we see that our central difference scheme is accurate if the value of Peclet number is 0 and very near to 0. It will be quite accurate, this variation. And the upwind scheme is accurate if the Peclet number is very, very large or very, very small. Okay. In those cases, the variation will be almost similar to what we have done for the upwind scheme. Okay. But instead of taking this simplification, we can directly take this actual variation itself within phi p and phi e. Okay, actual variation itself, and then we can find out what should be the value of the interface instead of taking a average value or limiting value. We can take the exact value from the exact solution. That will give us a much more accurate scheme. Okay, so that is what we can do after this, after finding out the analytical solution. So what we can do is, if we have a grid structure like this, okay, again let me reiterate or revise. We already have gone through it multiple times, but we will be able to remember better if we revise it again once. So our grid goes from, the control volume goes from small w to small e, has a length of delta x and is represented by the grid point P at the center. The nearest grid point on the east side is capital E and on the west side is capital W. And the distance between the nearest grid points are delta xc on the east side and delta xw on the west side. The value of the variable phi is equal to phi p at point P and phi capital E at point E. Okay. So now we were interested in finding the value at the interface small e. Okay. So if we assume that the solution is given by the exact solution, analytical solution, then we can fit the curve here between phi equal to phi p and phi equal to phi, what we have derived. So if Peclet number is equal to 0, the variation is linear between phi equal to phi p and phi equal to phi e. If Peclet number is positive, it looks like this, and Peclet number is negative, it looks like this. Okay. So based on this, we should be able to find out what is the value at the interface E directly. Okay. And it should be much more accurate as compared to the previous schemes. So that is what we can do. So we will write. So this was our solution, if you remember. We will increase the size. Okay. Same solution we will fit now between P and D. Okay. So phi minus phi p, instead of phi 0, we are writing phi p, phi minus phi p by phi e minus phi p. So these are the two limiting values, phi e and phi p. So phi minus phi p by phi e minus phi p is equal to e to the power pe. Pe is what? Peclet number at the east interface. Depending on the velocity here, we will determine whether the flow is positive or negative. P at the interface, Peclet number at the interface E, into x, okay, because the distance goes from, say, if the x starts from P and ends at E, so into x by delta xc. The length L is delta xc in this case. Okay. So e to the power P x by delta xc minus 1 by e to the power P, again Peclet number at east interface, minus 1. So this is our variation. Okay. With this variation, we can find the value of phi at any point between P and D. And in particular, if we are interested in finding the value at the east interface, assuming that the east interface is halfway in between, we can replace x by half delta xc. Okay. And then we will be able to get what is the interface value. Questions? Let me keep on summarizing what we have found. Okay, we have already discussed this. So when Peclet number is much greater than 0, phi is equal to phi p. Okay, interface value is almost equal to phi p. When Peclet number is much less than 0, phi is equal to almost equal to phi e, capital E. Okay, like the upwind scheme. So these extreme cases are similar to the upwind scheme, but there is one difference. Okay, that this is the entire solution including diffusion. This is the entire solution. So if we have solved the equation with both convection and diffusion. So this is the solution including diffusion. Okay. So we see that for phi is equal to, like, for Peclet number much greater than 0 or much less than 0, the diffusion is negligible. Effect of diffusion is negligible. Okay. But if you go back to the upwind scheme, if you remember it, for the upwind scheme, the convective part we have taken in a similar way, what I have described just now. Okay. But for the diffusive part, we have just taken a linear average. Okay. So the profile assumption was different for the diffusive part. Okay. So for the upwind scheme, for the convective part, we have taken this black line or the red line. I hope you can see the whiteboard. Okay. So we have taken the black line or the red line for the convective part, but for the diffusive part, we have taken this green line. Okay. For interpolating the interface value. So we had assumed that there is some significant diffusion for the diffusive part. So that is actually not there in the exact solution. So that is why I had mentioned yesterday that, however, it overestimates the effect of diffusion. The upwind scheme overestimates the effect of diffusion. Okay. How can we hide this? Does anyone know? So in actual case, the effect of diffusion is negligible. Okay. Second point, also we have already discussed, if P is equal to 0, the interface value is equal to phi p plus phi e by 2, because if P is equal to 0, we have a linear variation and the interface value should be average of these two values, okay, linear average of these two values. So that is what we are seeing here also. P is equal to 0, phi is equal to phi p plus phi e by 2. This is similar to the central difference scheme. Okay. Then next point is exact solution gives the variation of phi between any two adjacent grid points. Okay, for a very simple case. So if I have two grid points I and I plus 1 with values phi I and phi I plus 1, we will be able to find out the variation using the exact solution. But this is valid, remember the assumptions, this is valid for 1D convection diffusion without source term and transient term. Okay. For more complex cases, such as with source term, or for 2D or 3D problems, the solution is not exactly like this. Okay. But the knowledge gained here can be still used for discretization because the variation is similar. Although the solution is not exactly like this, the variation is similar. Okay. So we can devise or we can engineer a discretization scheme based on this knowledge that we have gained here for even for 2D or 3D problems. Okay. And this discretization scheme using the exact solution that we have derived right now, if we engineer a discretization scheme using that solution, it is known as exponential scheme. Okay. So that is what we are going to study next, the exponential scheme. So that's why we have gone through this derivation to find out what is the variation, and we have found that the variation is exponential, and now we can devise a scheme which should be much more accurate as compared to the upwind or central difference scheme. This scheme is known as the exponential scheme. Any questions? You guys are still there? You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Feel free to ask questions. Okay. There needs to be like a healthy discussion. So everybody benefits if there is a discussion. If you study the previous day's class notes of before every class, you will have a lot of questions. So that is a very good practice. Studying previous day's class notes before the next class. Okay. Anyway, so let us continue. Let us see this exponential scheme. Okay. I will keep this open, this exact solution open on the right hand side, so that we can refer to this while devising the exponential scheme. Okay. Just a second. All right. So let us consider a grid structure. Okay, for a finite volume method. So again, we have the control volume going from small w to small e, which is represented by the grid point P at its center. Neighboring grid points are E and capital E and capital W, and the neighboring control volumes are from small e to small e on the east side and small w to small ww on the west side. Okay. The distance again between the grid points is given by delta xc and delta xw, and x is defined to be starting from P, the point P. So x is equal to 0 is at point P, and let the E be somewhere in between P and E, not at the center. Okay, we will take a general case. If it is at the center, it's just a subset or easy case, but the E value interface may not be at the center. If it is not at the center, means if the control volumes are not of equal size, the point E will not be at the center. If that is the case, this is at a distance of xe. Okay, this is at a distance of xe from the point P. The interface is at a distance of xe from the point P. So for devising this scheme, we will assume that the profile is exponential between the grid points. So between P and E, the profile is given by phi, this value. Okay, phi minus phi P by phi E minus phi P is equal to e to the power P x by delta xc minus 1 by e to the power P minus 1. Okay, this is our variation. Similarly, between W and P, phi minus phi W, remember that instead of P, so you should take W not instead of E but instead of P, and take P instead of E here, because now the western side is, previously the western side was P and eastern side was E. Now the western side is W and eastern side is P. Okay, so we will replace all the P by W and all the E by P in the expression. So phi minus phi W, okay, by phi P minus phi W is equal to e to the power Pw x by delta xs W minus 1 by e to the power Pw minus 1. Okay, so this is the variation between phi equal to phi W and phi equal to phi P between W and P. So with these two variations, we are now ready to derive our exponential scheme. Okay, because we know the variation from W to P and from P to E. So we should be able to find out the values at the interface small w and small e. Okay. So now let us consider our governing equation. D dx of rho u phi is equal to d dx of gamma d phi dx. Okay. If we define a term called J, which is defined as total flux, okay, So there are two types of flux, right? One is the advective flux due to advection, due to the velocity, and then there is a diffusive flux due to diffusion. So the total flux in a domain is the sum of these two flux. Okay. So this is defined as rho u phi minus gamma d phi dx. Okay. Rho u phi is the advective flux and minus gamma d phi dx, like minus k dt dx is the conduction, right? Minus k dt dx. Similarly, minus gamma d phi dx is the uh, diffusive flux. Okay, the negative sign is there because the flow occurs from along a negative gradient, means from higher value of phi to the lower value of phi. If the phi is decreasing, there is positive flow. So flux is positive if the slope is negative. So rho u phi minus gamma d phi dx is the total flux J. Okay. So now we can write this equation as dj dx equal to 0 in a very simple form, dj dx equal to 0. So to derive the governing or to discretize this equation now, we have to integrate this equation over the control volume from small w to small e. Let us keep this open. Okay. So from small w to small e, we have to integrate dj dx. So integration of dj dx from small w to small e dx equal to 0. Okay, for our finite volume method for the grid point P. This integral gives Je is equal to Jw, which is understandable. The total flux at the east interface should be equal to the total flux at the west interface because there is no other source term or transient term. Whatever flux enters from one side has to be equal to the flux which goes out from the other side. Okay, so Je is equal has to be equal to Jw. So just a second. What is Je and what is Jw? That is what we have to find next. Okay, what is Je and what is Jw? So using exponential scheme, okay, first let us write what is J. J is rho u phi minus gamma d phi dx. So for the east interface, J is equal to rho u at east interface. Phi is east interface. So rho u e phi e minus gamma at east interface into d phi dx at the east interface. Okay, rho u e phi e minus gamma e d phi dx e. Okay. Now phi can be written from this expression. Phi can be written as phi is equal to phi p plus phi minus phi p e to the power p x by delta xc minus 1 by e to the power p minus 1. Okay, same thing, just rearranging the terms so that only phi remains on one side and by taking all the other terms to the other side. This is the same expression rearranged in this form. Okay, this is the value of phi. Okay, so at the east interface now we can find phi if we replace this x by xe, right? So this value of x is xe at this east interface. If we replace the value x by xc, we will find the value at the value of phi at the east interface. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. So rho u is fe. Okay, rho u is defined as advective strength f at the east interface. This is fe multiplied by this term with x is equal to xc. Okay, so this is what this is equal to phi p plus phi minus phi. So when you write and actually derive by your hand, you will see that this is not difficult. This is just some simple algebraic calculations. It looks like big terms here because the terms are actually big, but the calculation is very simple. Unfortunately, I cannot show you on a board here. Otherwise, it would have been easier. So phi p plus phi minus phi p into e to the power p xc, instead of x you have xc by delta xc minus 1 by e to the power p minus 1. Okay, this is for the advective term. Similarly, for the diffusive term, we have minus gamma e, then a derivative of this with respect to e. So you have to take a derivative of this. You have to differentiate this with respect to, sorry, x. You have to differentiate this with respect to x and then replace the value of x by xe. Okay. So if you differentiate this with respect to x, the first term vanishes, phi p. So we are left with phi minus phi p by e to the power p minus 1. Okay, this term. Then within this part, within this numerator, the -1 term goes to 0 because it's a constant. So the derivative of e to the power px by delta xc is p by delta xc into e to the power px by delta xc. So you have to replace x by delta xc. So ultimately you get this term. Okay. So this is equal to gamma e phi e minus phi p by e to the power p minus 1 p by delta xc e to the power p delta xc by delta xc. Okay. So this is the value of je. Okay, after using the exponential profile. It looks complicated, but it's actually not very complicated. It's just replacing those values. Where f is equal to rho u e, d we can define as gamma e by delta xc. Okay, gamma e by delta xc, and Peclet number p is fe by de. Okay. So now this can be simplified considerably. Okay. So what is PE? PE is Fe by DE. So and gamma E by delta Xc is DE, right? By definition, gamma E by delta X is DE. So DE into P is equal to Fe. Okay. So this entire term gamma E PE by delta Xc is nothing but equal to Fe. Okay. So we have one Fe here and one Fe from these terms. Okay. If you take this common, you can take out this Fe. So you will have one Fe here. Okay. Then this phi p is there. Okay. Then for this term, we have phi e minus phi p by e to the power p minus 1. Okay. Similarly, here also, we have phi e minus phi p by e to the power p minus 1. So we can take this as common. Phi e minus phi p by e to the power p minus 1. We can take this as common from both the terms. So we are left with, so you have to imagine this because it's difficult to show here. E to the power pxc by delta xc minus 1 minus e to the power pxc by delta xc. So this e to the power pxc by delta xc gets cancelled from both the sides. Okay, it gets cancelled from both the sides, and you are just left with a minus 1. Okay, we are just left with a minus 1. So this minus sign comes. So final expression becomes very simple. J is equal to Fe phi p minus phi by phi p divided by e to the power p minus 1. Okay, this is our flux at the east interface. Very important thing you can notice here. There is no value of xe. This xe does not come into the picture in this equation. Okay, there is nowhere this xe is present. It was there, but it got cancelled. So it means that the flux does not depend on the position of x. Okay, this is understandable as flux is constant, but it means that wherever we take the interface, whether it is halfway or not, does not matter because the flux is same. Okay, and is given by this expression. So J is equal to Fe phi p minus phi minus phi p by e to the power p minus 1. Okay, this can be also be written in a different way. If you want to separate out the terms of phi p and phi e, why do we want to separate out the terms of phi p and phi e? Because ultimately our final expression is of the form of this form. That is the final expression. AP phi p is equal to summation a and b phi and b plus b. Okay, so if it is for a 1D problem, our final expression has to be of this form. AP phi p is equal to AE phi plus AW phi W. So you want to separate out the terms of phi p, phi e, and phi W. Okay. So if you separate out the terms, the phi p term will become Fe by e to the power p minus 1, then phi p into e to the power p minus 1 plus phi p. Okay. So this minus 1 gets cancelled. You are left with e to the power p phi p. And the other term, phi term, will be minus Fe by e to the power p minus 1 into phi e from this term. Okay. So this is the flux J. It does not depend on the location of the interface. Same thing can be also done with for the west interface. We will not do it, but it will look similar. So JW should be equal to FW e to the power PW minus 1 e to the power PW into phi W, left hand side value. This is the left hand side value. Okay. pi w minus fw e to the power pw minus 1 phi p. We are not replacing the east by the west. Okay, you are replacing the p by the west and east by the p, because that is how the shifting is occurring. So instead of this being the left and this being the right, now we have this being the left and this being the right. So that's why the expression looks like this: fw by e to the power pw minus 1 e to the power pw phi w minus fw by e to the power pw minus 1 phi p. Okay. So je and jw we have derived. It looks complicated, but actually is not difficult to derive. So once you have je equal, so now we know that je should be equal to jw. So we can replace this je and jw with the expressions that we have derived. Okay. And rearrange the terms. So we can take all the phi p terms together, the phi term separately and phi w term separately. I am not going through the steps, but what will happen is that you will get all the phi p terms together like this on one side, the phi term on the other side, and phi w term also on the other side. So ultimately it is the same expression: ap phi p is equal to ae phi plus aw phi w, where ap is given by this entire thing, a is given by this, and aw is given by this. Okay. You can also check that ap is equal to ae plus aw plus fu minus fw, and because fu is equal to fw, this gets cancelled. So ap is equal to ae plus aw. Okay, this can be checked. You should check this on your own. So ultimately we have come to the same equation, discretized equation. Only thing that has changed are the values of the coefficients ap, ae and aw. These coefficient values have changed. Okay, and has become more complex. It has exponential terms within this. It is much more complex as compared to the central defined and upwind scheme, but should be much more accurate also. So complexity has increased, but accuracy should also increase. Okay. So this is known as the exponential scheme. Okay. So we'll summarize this and end this class today with this. Okay. So this is known as exponential scheme, where the coefficients are exponential functions of cell-based Peclet number, interface Peclet number. Okay. All the coefficients are functions of the Peclet number at the interface between the different cells. Okay. This will provide an exact solution for steady state 1D problem without source term. Okay. Why will it provide an exact solution for 1D steady state problem without source term? Because we have devised this scheme based on the actual solution of 1D steady state problem without source term. So because we have already taken the actual solution into devising this scheme, obviously it is going to be exactly correct for this same problem, even if we solve it in a CFD form. Okay, and that is true for any Peclet number and any number of grid points. This is important. Okay, even if I have only 3 grid points or 2 grid points instead of large number of grid points, still this is going to be 100% accurate. Okay, for this simple problem of 1D steady state without source term. However, this is not going to be 100% exact or 100% accurate for complicated cases, like when there are non-zero source terms, or if it is a 2D problem or 3D problem. It won't be 100% accurate because the exact solution is not valid in those cases, but still it will be very much more accurate as compared to the other cases. Okay, so this is a very accurate solution. However, all this accuracy comes at a huge cost. Okay, this is a very expensive solution in terms of computational calculations. Okay, this is very much computationally expensive, as you have to calculate large number of exponential terms. Okay, so for each grid you have to calculate 2 exponential, e to the power p and e to the power pw. Okay, calculating exponentials in a computer is computationally expensive. How are exponentials calculated? Does anyone know? How does the computer calculate exponentials? So e to the power x, if I want to find, say using MATLAB or any other software, for value of x equal to 10, how will it calculate e to the power x? It does not have a table, right, for calculating. So it has to calculate based on something, e to the power x. How will MATLAB or any other software calculate e to the power x? So e to the power 10, how will I calculate?
So maybe using Taylor series.
Yes, so it is using the exponential series. Okay, so the exponential series has a large, so it will have to be truncated at some point, but we have to include a large number of terms for it to be quite accurate. Okay, so there will be a large number of terms present. Each of the terms will also have multiplications, like 1 plus x square by, I forgot the term, 1 plus x square by factorial 2 plus x cube by factorial 3, something like that, right? So you have to do a lot of factorials and a lot of multiplications. So each exponential calculation is very complicated. This is similar to calculation of sin x or cos x. Do you know how sin x and cos x are calculated in a computer? Again using series. Okay, series for sin x and cos x. So all these calculations are much more complicated or expensive, takes more time as compared to algebraic calculations. Okay. So because we need to calculate large number of exponentials using exponential series, it is very much computationally expensive. Okay. So that's why although this is a very accurate scheme, this scheme is not used much. Okay. So we need an easy to implement or easy to compute scheme, but whose behavior is similar to exponential scheme. Now we know the exact behavior. Okay, we know that these are the behavior. So if we can mimic this behavior, but without using exponential, so we want to mimic or we want to copy this behavior, but without using exponentials. Okay, if we can do that, we can devise certain schemes which will run very fast also, computationally will be faster, but will have the variation of the exponential, means it will be almost like exponential. Without using exponential, we cannot exactly make the line look like exponential, but what we can do is we can devise piecewise linear functions that follow the exponential scheme. How? So for example, we can devise a function like this. Instead of taking a single function, where is my pen? Instead of taking a single function, we can take a function like this. Okay. So up to certain point, it is a straight line like this. Then another point, so say we are approximating this. So up to a certain point, this is a straight line like this. So from that point, it is another straight line like this. And then another straight line like this. Okay, although it is not looking like straight lines, but I am trying to draw straight lines here. Okay. So this is one straight line. This is one straight line. So by using 3 straight lines, we will be able to better approximate the exponential curve. By using 5 straight lines, it will be even better. Okay, more number of straight lines we use to mimic the variation, more will it be accurate. Okay, so this we are going to study in the next class. So two schemes we will see. One is known as the hybrid scheme, and one is known as the power law scheme. Okay, so those are much more accurate. Not as accurate as exponential scheme, but almost as accurate. Very small difference is there, but significantly faster. They are significantly faster. Okay, so in real life scenario, whenever we write a code, CFD code, we either use very simple scheme like upwind scheme, which also works well in most cases, or if we want to be accurate, we use one of these later schemes like hybrid scheme or not exponential, sorry, these power law schemes, which we will discuss in the next class. Okay. So I will stop this discussion now. Any questions? These are all uploaded, okay, in the portal. You can go through them before the next class. So if you might have noticed, just today morning I have uploaded a assignment. Actually, it's not an assignment, so it is the initial part for the course project. Okay, and now is the right time to actually formulate and start working, because you have only 1 month left. You have to present after, most probably we will set up a time just after the end sem, okay, for the presenting the project, if there is sufficient time. So if you go there, you will see that I have attached a 1-page description as an example. Okay, so please submit a 1-page report on your project title. So I just want a 1-page report at this point, okay, which will outline what is the project title, who are the team members, what is the problem description, what problem you are trying to solve using so you should show a domain. Okay, I will show you an example. What are the boundary condition and what is it that you are trying to achieve, what are the objectives. You might also include any methodology, whether it will be based on ANSYS or whether you will be writing a code or whether you will be solving some semi-analytical type of problem. Okay. An example format is attached for your reference. At the end of the semester, you will have to present your work. This course project is very important for your learning. Okay, so take it more seriously, not for getting marks. Marks will also depend on this. Grades will also depend on this. But actual CFD you can learn by solving the projects. Just by looking at the theory, you cannot learn much CFD. Okay, it's a different kind of subject. It's like I was explaining previously, right? It's like learning swimming by just watching YouTube videos of swimming. You cannot learn swimming by watching YouTube videos of swimming. You have to learn swimming by actually swimming. So similarly, you have to learn CFD by actually solving CFD problems. So if you see this problem description, this is just handwritten, but you can make it handwritten or type it also. So I have just given one example, example problem, CFD project with team member name. Project title: simulation of melting of phase change material in an annular storage system. You can have any type of projects. Don't get carried away with like phase change materials or things like that. There are hundreds of different areas. For example, you can try to solve natural convection in a room, which are also quite interesting. Okay, or you can try to solve the flow around an obstacle. Like there is a flow in a region and there is a solid obstacle. What is the flow, or what is the heat transfer, say natural convection from a hot wall? This type of things also you can solve, or you can take a very simple problem using a code. You can write a code for a simple 2D conduction type of problem, where say there is a source term in between, like there is a heater in a 2D plate, and how the temperature is varying in the plate with time. So any type of, and we can discuss in the next class. You can come up with your ideas. There is lot of time. You have to submit this by after 10 days, around 10 days. You will see the time. Not this Saturday, by next Saturday you can submit, so that I can guide you on whether the project looks feasible or not. If you submit it beforehand, it will be even better, because I can tell you then whether your project is feasible or whether it is too difficult to achieve within the short time. Okay. It should not be very challenging, because you will not be able to solve it then. And maybe I can show you some of the last year's project in the next class, because last year students did very good projects. I may not have all of them with me, but I think I don't have the project files. I will have to check. If I have them, I can show you. Last year they did actually quite good. So they here, then after the project title, you give what is your domain. It can be a complicated problem which you are trying to solve using some software, or a very simple problem which you are trying to solve using code. Using your code, both are fine. Don't think that one will carry more mark or anything like that. Okay. It is how good your efforts are, that will carry the marks. So in this case, we have a tube through which flow is occurring at a certain velocity V in and certain temperature. Hot water comes in, TW in is the inlet temperature, TW out is the outlet temperature, and V out is the outlet velocity. And the surrounding region is filled with some material which is known as phase change material, which can melt and store the energy. And this is the cross-sectional view. Okay. We also need to provide the boundary condition and initial condition. So initial condition, TPCM is less than some melting temperature, and inlet temperature of water is greater than some melting temperature. And later on, what are the values? Okay. So all the boundary conditions you need to provide. So if there are flow equations, velocity problem is there, then all the velocity conditions has to be there. Then for temperature, all the temperature conditions. So all this you should be able to devise right now before solving the problem. And the objective of your problem, to find for this case, it is to find the melting pattern of PCM for different water inlet temperature and velocity. Something similar to this you can make as soon as possible, and you can send it to me. Oh, you should upload it here. It is much easier for me to track instead of sending through emails, because the emails will get lost in a sea of emails. So every day I get 50 or 100 emails, so it will get lost in a sea of emails. Okay, so better to upload here so that I can track. So that's all. And any questions? If you have questions, so we have to run out of time today. Okay, you can discuss with me later on in the next class. Still sufficient time is there. We will have sufficient time to discuss about the project also. Okay. So let us I think we have still 2 minutes for any questions. If you have any questions, you can ask me.